Good morning. We want to welcome Mary Beth Kaiser at Horizon Wings Raptor Rehab. That's a mouthful. And she's out of Ashford. We have had her on the show before, talking about spring and things you should and shouldn't do, throwing apples. I always remember you told me don't throw your apple cores at the side of the road because birds come down and get them and get hit. So that was a big lesson for me. But today we're going to talk about how this current situation has affected you and your services, because certainly you're being held back from, different people. You used to give a lot of school programs, have people come through. And now, what are you doing with the COVID regulations in place as far as having anybody at the center or planning on opening the center, or how are you going to work that?
Yeah. Right now we are starting to do Zoom programs for libraries and such. And we have been able to slowly open. I can have some volunteers back, which is fantastic. There is a lot to do here. So it's been great having some people back to help me out with this. And we can do tours. We're starting to do tours for small groups. But it has definitely impacted us. We are probably losing about $6,500 a month in educational fees. Doing Zoom programs, we don't bring in the income that we would for a live program, of course, and they haven't really taken off yet. We probably have maybe half a dozen scheduled in the next couple of months, because everybody rather see the birds live. I mean, they're interactive, but it's different. So I have some people trying to put us off until the fall. So hopefully we can do a program. So it has definitely impacted us in the educational sense. Rehabilitation-wise, we are jamming. For the last 3 weeks, we've taken in between 1 and 3 birds a day, or given advice or re-nested. Part of it is if we're not out doing educational programs, we're much more available to, be on spot with the rehab. And part of it is I think people are sitting home and they're discovering the fledglings jumping out of the nest, or they're out in the woods for the first time, discovering nature and discovering the fledglings that are out.
Now, with your fledglings, you mentioned that. When you see fledglings on the ground, first of all, that $6,500 a month has to kill you, because these animals still have to eat. They still have to have medical care. And that's a big problem with nonprofits when something like this hits. It's the nonprofits that get hit the hardest. So when people see fledglings, like somebody just posted on Facebook last night, I wanted to send them to you. Thank God I didn't, because you got your hands full, that they found these little birds out of the nest at the base of the tree, but there was an adult coming back and forth, one adult. I don't know whether the nest blew out of the tree. I believe it was you who told me a long time ago that you just make a basket, that is a fallacy, that the mother won't come back when the nestlings fall out if a human touches them. And so I just told her, make a basket out of something and put it back up in the tree, put them in there and put it back up in the tree. Is that the best thing to do?
It depends on the age of the bird. If it's a fledgling, if it's fully feathered, they're learning to fly. Well, they live on the ground or low branches for a couple weeks. Make sure the parents are in attendance. Keep your dogs, cats, kids away. If you find a true nestling, a bird that maybe only has fluff or not all of its feathers on it, sometimes these birds get cold. They cannot keep themselves warm. Sometimes they do need that intervention if they've been on the ground and they are cold. So it sort of depends at what stage that bird is at. And if you make a makeshift nest for a fledgling, be aware that they might just bop right back out of it.
Okay.
Also be aware that if you make a nest for any bird, it's got to have drainage.
Okay, good point.
Put a cup out there and put the baby in, because if it rains.
Good point.
Right. So
it's helpful because people want to help, but they're terrified sometimes to touch them. Well, is that going to kill them? They're terrified to leave them there. Is that going to kill them? And they don't know. So that's where your education comes in. And the one thing I wanted to, and I don't know if you want to even talk about this because it was a horrific thing, and what I'm going to say about that eagle. Is that the singing eagle that you have posted? Does he sing, that eagle?
What? Or is it went missing? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, okay. Let me try to get closer to the microphone. You had an incident in February with an eagle that went quote, missing. Like,
Right.
who the heck does that? And he was unable to fly. Am I correct? He was a walker
Correct.
because there was a wing injury. Thank God, within, 24 hours, you were able to find
Yes,
him.
24
Yes.
hours he was found on the property. Basically, still sort of an open, ongoing investigation type thing. So there's not a lot I can say beyond the fact that he was found on the grounds the next morning in spots that we had checked the day before, and he was not there.
So, somebody's like, what am I going to do? What are you going to do with an eagle that
It
is
wasn't,
injured?
in my opinion, it wasn't somebody who was professional looking for black market feathers or
Kids, you
body
think?
parts,
Kids.
or he would not have been alive.
Yeah.
Somebody who thought they could set the birdie free,
Well,
then realized no, they couldn't.
they can't. Yeah. I mean, it's just these do-gooders. I mean, you are doing the professional work, for somebody to come onto your property, first of all, and do that. And I remember at that point, you were so heartsick about it. We were just all praying that he came back, and he did. And all I could think of is, I would never stick my hand in a cage with a bald eagle. I got flapped at by a hawk, and that was enough. They're tinier, much tinier than the eagles.
Well,
but is he the one? Yeah, go ahead.
It makes you wonder how and who and why.
Yeah.
My bottom line right now is ACCA's back. ACCA is safe. ACCA is healthy. If we ever find out who did this, then they deserve whatever they get. But I am just glad that he is back home with us. He was not himself for a couple of weeks.
Oh, really? Really? It affected him emotionally or scared?
Tense and cranky. But he's doing well now.
Good.
Everybody's getting fat and lazy due to lack of programs. So,
is he the one that you had quote as a singing eagle? Does he make a lot of noise? I thought I saw something about a singing eagle or singing eagle. Is he a talker?
The bald eagle? Yeah, he's very chatty. He's very chatty. There are nights that I let my dogs out at about 7 or so after dinner, and they're in a fenced-in yard, so they can't get near the aviaries. But if he hears us out there, he starts chatting away to us.
Oh, that's funny. You just don't think about that kind of interaction with such a large, wild predator. That comes to the point. There's you have there that raptors and covids. Now, what qualifies a bird as a covid? I don't know.
A corvid? A corvid?
A corvid.
COVID-19. I don't know any rehabber or educator who looked at COVID-19 without thinking corvid.
Right.
A corvid is actually our largest songbird. Crows, ravens, they're actually songbirds because they have that voice box. The jays. So they're basically...
I've never heard a song from a crow, just a lot of cawing, but that's okay. That's cool. They have a voice.
Well, ours talk, they sound just like me. So you'd think it's me out in the backyard saying, hey, guys. So they do have the ability to speak. They are such an intelligent bird.
They're more intelligent than dogs and pigs, right? Yeah.
And pesty. Everything serves a purpose. Everything serves a purpose. They eat a lot of bugs. The crows, the ravens, even the jays, they eat carrion. So they all serve a purpose. But basically, the raven is our largest songbird, believe it or not.
Okay, so it's like ravens, blue jays, crows. Magpies. Okay, anything with a. So you're saying that other birds don't really have a voice box, like a sparrow, or
they do. They have a voice box. That's how they sing, etc. So, but people will look at a raven or look at a crow, and they'll listen to the noise they make, and they'll say, "That's a songbird."
Yeah.
Seriously, and they are. They're songbirds, and they're classified as such because they have the voice box. Are they songbirds like a warbler is a songbird? No, but they are classified as a songbird because of that voice box.
What would that include parrots? Because parrots are big talkers. You have parrots, right? You have a lot of parrots.
And in fact, I'm sitting right under their window, and you may end up hearing them shortly. No, I don't believe parrots are classified as songbirds.
No, but I mean, but the voice box, they certainly talk
yeah.
away. I've heard your parrots. So what kind of birds do you have right now? You're saying you're getting 2 or 3 a day, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear him. I have a baby blue jay outside with me that I've been feeding every half hour. He has a broken wing. Hopefully we'll be able to be released. We mostly, again, hawks, owls. We're seeing a lot of young birds this time of year. The fledglings, they come out of their nest. If they're lucky, they aren't injured. Sometimes when they're young, they may get bumped out if the nest gets crowded. For instance, the young eaglet that volunteers here canoed out to an island last Thursday and canoed back with this young eaglet. It needed to be rescued. She is currently up at Tufts being treated for a broken humerus. Hopefully will be releasable. We see a lot of young birds in trouble. The same day that volunteers canoed out to the island to get the eaglet, another volunteer and I were in Windsor releasing a young peregrine who actually flew into the river and was fished out. He was ready
So
to
they couldn't get out. They can't get out of water.
They swim for a distance. They will swim for a distance, but they're not made for swimming. So some will perish because of that. And he was found along the edge of the river by 2 hikers. And the only thing wrong with him was that he was wet and hungry and cranky. And,
fun to pick him up. Right.
So we get nestlings in many times. It's sort of yucky. The young hawks and such will have, the bot flies will lay their eggs around their ears, and they will actually have bot fly maggots in their ears. And they come out of the nest.
You're saying bot fly, B-O-T?
Bot fly, B-O-T, right.
They're here in this area? I thought they were more like a sub-Saharan type thing.
No, they're species specific. Raptors get these lovely little skittery things. That's a type of bot fly. And they'll lay the eggs, and the bot flies will actually be in these little guys' ears. And they'll be on the ground. I had a crow come in 2 weeks ago, and they had disturbed his ears so much his little head was totally upside down from the inflammation. So we cleared the maggots out, treated him with anti-inflammatories and antibiotics, and this weekend he's going to be put back out with his parents. So we see that a lot.
That's great.
We've just got another young bird in this morning, same way, a little red-shouldered hawk. So that is not uncommon. They get down on the ground, they're slow moving. Maybe their parents aren't attending to them like they are to the ones in the nest. They get covered with fly eggs. Not a pretty picture. So that is what we're seeing a lot of this time of year. And then, of course, you're hit by car birds that are scavenging on the roadside. They're feeding nests of hungry babies. Easier to pick up that dead squirrel sometimes than hunt down that live one.
Or apple cores, which you told me never do, and I don't. I mean, that's if I learned one thing from you, and I've learned a lot, it's don't throw food on the side of a highway. It's just a natural. Well, something's going to eat it, like something, because you did tell me to come down and get hit when they look for that. So not to do that.
When they look for that rodent on the side of the road.
Yeah. So your volunteers are coming back slowly but surely. I'm hoping everything opens by July or August, but that still puts you behind the 8 ball. You do still need volunteers. I mean, based on what's going on with all this intake, do you still need volunteers?
Well, we are accepting some, but it's also tough because training sort of violates that social distance rule that we're supposed to be doing, that safe distance. So I'm not taking on a lot of new volunteers right now for that reason that, we don't want to be overcrowded here also. So it's, sort of that too with that. And we are doing small tours, family groups, not over 6 people. And we are allowing tours. We have a beautiful picnic area, which I go like this. It's right down there, but you guys can't see it. A volunteer made some wonderful gardens around here. So the place is really eye-pleasing. It's very relaxing. There's great trails to hike on in the quiet corner of the state where we are located. I suggest people go for that nice hike, give us a call, make a reservation, come out, have lunch with us and the Raptors, and take a tour of Horizon Wings. Make your day complete.
I hope they do, because it is a beautiful property. One other thing that you had mentioned, and I think I saw on your website, was renesting versus surrogacy. Can you explain that?
Oh, the rehabs versus the surrogacy.
Right.
What we try to do when we get a young bird in, say those red shoulders and the crow we had with the bugs in their ears.
Problem. Yeah.
We try to, fix their problem as fast as we can, get them ready to go back out and renest them, put them back with their parents. For instance, in Manchester this year, we had a case where 3 young great horns came out of a nest because the nest was just destroyed. We were able to, with the park's assistance, it was at Wickham Park, go up in another tree. We had a huge wicker basket. We stabilized that in the tree. We put the 3 nestlings back in the basket. All 3 were fledged successfully from that basket. So you try to re-nest them by making a fake nest for them if possible, if the situation warrants it. That is the best thing, getting them back with their own parents. We do also have 2 great horns here still, young birds. They both had broken wings. They could not be re-nested. They needed some time for R&R, for those fractures to heal, and for them to get strong before they were put back out. So our great horned owl is acting as a surrogate. They learn to communicate. They learn how to be a great horned owl. They learn how to rip and tear food via this bird instead of a human. So they're focusing
because they imprint on a human and they have to know how to
So they're focusing on who and what they should be instead of a person. Always best to get them out as soon as possible, reunite them with the parents. Sometimes you can take one. Maybe you can't get it back with its parents. Maybe it's a true orphan. You can find a nest with maybe only 1 baby in it, and you can put that baby back into that nest, and you can foster them out in the wild as well. And those are the first scenarios, putting them back with the parents, fostering them out in the wild. If that doesn't work for illness or injury or whatever reason, then we go the surrogacy route, but only then.
Okay. When you see birds coming in with broken wings, I mean, little guys, is it because they've fallen from their nest? I mean, they're not whipping around cars yet, right? So is it like an injury from a nest?
Right. Like the eaglet that we brought this bird up to Tufts. I felt that was the best place for it. Being rebandaged and x-rayed twice a week. So she is up there under their care. And that's what happened. That eagle's nest was a new nest because the last one they built was blown down last year. So these eagles built a new nest. From the information I received from the people who watch the nest is that it's a real small nest. And they weren't surprised that one of the babies got bumped out early.
Small for the baby. Okay.
Right. So they tumble, they hit the branches on the way down. It's not like they've taken their first flight and maybe have some idea of what they're doing, although that can cause injury as well because they are just not coordinated and experienced. So sometimes it's their first flight that gets them in trouble. Other times they are just incidentally bumped from a nest.
I gotcha. Now, your parrots, how do they take? Is it one of the parrots I've seen? He's a very, very active guy. How do they take all these other birds coming and going?
The parrots, my parrots, my domestic birds, have absolutely no contact with the wildlife.
I see.
Don't need spread of disease.
Right.
So if I have been out working with a sick animal, I change and clean up before I touch a parrot.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Do they hear all that going on, though? Because, look all that chatter going on.
Actually, when the windows get thrown open in the spring, our habitat is great for red-shouldered hawks especially. And my African gray will scream like a red-shouldered hawk. I've heard him singing like a wren. He will gobble like the turkey that I used to have. So he just carries on with whomever and whatever he can.
Well, he's a sociable boy. He's just socially distancing. I mean, you got to be proud of him for that. You due to the loss, the wildlife's loss of support dollars. Are you doing any kind of fundraising, like online, or
we did a fundraiser online in April, which did very well. So thank you, everybody. And instead of our open house Earth Day, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year, we did a video and we did a tour of Horizon Wings. And we posted that as a fundraiser. And it did really, really well.
Good.
So, in the fall, we usually have another large fundraiser. It's our Owl Prowl. That remains to be seen. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not. If we can't do that, we'll probably do something similar to raise money. So, and friends and family have been awesome. Their birthdays come up. They do birthday fundraisers for us. So that's always fantastic. And if anybody wanted to do a birthday fundraiser for us, we would do a little private program for you and thanks. Your child's birthday is coming up. You wanted an owl program. Maybe we can't personally do there. You do a birthday fundraiser. We'd be happy to do a Zoom meeting with owls for you.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And, a lot of kids today, you see, aren't asking for gifts. They're asking for things like that. Children seem to be getting much more aware of the world around them than maybe we were as kids. But I'm glad that the fundraisers are working for you. So your fundraisers through October are done now. But if anybody wants to help out, Mary Beth would certainly appreciate it, and it would certainly help the cause that they're doing. We do need birds. We need them in the wild. We've lost so many species for various reasons, and then somebody who's helping and getting them back out there to balance the what would I want to say, natural process or the biosphere. It's not a lot of people work with birds.
No, I do have a little guest if you would like to meet. Educational ambassadors. Do you have time? Yeah. All right, give me 2 seconds and I'll get her.
Okay.
Come on, little girl. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
there you go. Hi.
Now, what kind of owl is it?
Oakley is an eastern screech owl. She is a red morph screech owl. She is a very healthy owl. She's gorgeous, in my opinion.
Yes, she is.
She's with us because she is a human imprint.
What happened to her to make a human imprint?
Her tree was cut down and flew off. And the gentleman with the tree service, this was up in Massachusetts, he called the Audubon and said, I have these 4 babies. What do I do? The Audubon said, bring them in. We know of other nests. We can foster them out into the wild. And he was going to do that. And the woman who owned the house where the property where the work was being done said, I'll take care of that for you. And she took these 4 babies in, 3 red and 1 gray, and she hand fed them for almost 2 months. I don't know what she fed them. They played with her kids. They played with her dogs.
Okay.
At that very impressionable time, owls can imprint up to about the age of 2 months. And then she got tired of the 4 babies and decided to bring them to Audubon. So into Audubon she went with the 3 red screech owls. And the gentleman said, you told me there were 4. What happened to the gray one? And the woman said, well, it died. And her little girl piped up and said, Mommy, what about the gray one we left at home? So Mommy in a hurry. And they did try to renest these birds, but it was too late. They were human imprinted. So eastern screech owls seem to be on the decline here. That's 3 less birds that could have been in the wild helping that population.
It says again and again, don't interfere with nature. Do your best to get them to somebody who knows what they're doing. Don't interfere with nature. I had
they're not pets.
It doesn't help you. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help the environment. I painted with somebody who told me about a neighbor that had a raccoon in her chimney and had babies. And so Mama Raccoon runs off, and the person wanted to take the baby raccoons to a rehabber or somebody. And the neighbor said, no, I'll take care of them. And they were found, 4 baby raccoons in a cage in her backyard and died. So it just doesn't pay, no matter your best of intentions. You don't have the experience to do this, And
another thing too is you can be putting yourself at risk. Those babies, they are rabies vectors. They carry a type, I was explaining this to a friend last night, they carry a type of roundworm that in primates and humans, it migrates to the brain. It can cause blindness and or death. So you don't know
another best reason not to do it,
Yeah, you don't know what you're dealing with these animals and how sick they can make you if you don't know what you're doing and how sick you can make them. As a rehabber, I can't tell you the number of times any of us have received an animal after somebody's had it for a week, 10 days. It was doing good, but now the formula is bubbling through its nose and it's breathing hard. Well, it's aspirated, it has pneumonia, it's dying, and that's when we get these animals. Or we get them imprinted, starving, because they're not fed the right diet. I had somebody, this gentleman actually got arrested. He kept a hawk as a summer project. and all he fed it was venison wrapped in feathers. That bird was emaciated because that wasn't enough,
That's
didn't
not
give it
good.
enough of the right vitamins and such. Its feet were horrible. They were a mess and infected because he didn't have the right type of perching. So
Did he survive it? Did he survive
the bird eventually survived. It took a lot, but he did eventually survive. And this gentleman was fined. He
Good.
received a fine of about $2,000, I
Again,
believe.
he probably had the best of intentions, but that's not what you do. What are you going to do with this little girl now? She's going to be in an aviary. Do you have other screech owls in the aviary she can be with?
Is in an aviary with our two other screech owls. We have a gray screech owl and we have a brown screech owl. So the three of them share an aviary together. And sometimes when it's cold, they'll all be in the same nest box. The red, gray, and brown color doesn't matter to these guys.
That's right, as it should be, as it should be. Now, since she was imprinted on a human being, when she gets put back in with her own kind, it's like, what are you? I mean, was there an adjustment period? Like, what the heck are these things, you know?
It wasn't a huge adjustment for her because she had always been with a sibling.
Oh, okay.
But she really didn't have the skills she needed to survive for hunting and such that she would have learned from her parents. And she really just did not have that.
She's very calm.
She is very calm
girl.
Sometimes,
Hey, pretty.
Sometimes she yells at us.
She's so pretty.
She is.
How old is she?
How old is she? Guy.
I'm giving you the stink eye.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not sitting next to you. How old is she? I'm sorry.
So even though they're small, these birds are pretty tenacious. You know, they're opportunistic like other birds. They'll eat bugs. She'll eat little rodents, amphibians. But these birds have actually been seen going after birds as big as pigeons. So they're a pretty tough little bird.
Okay.
The feather tufts on the heads aren't her ears. Her ears are on either side of her head, behind her eyes. The feather tufts are used, I think, for some camouflage, communication. And then if I turn her around, she says, no, I'm not turning. You can see you're not turning, are you?
She's like, Mom, that's enough.
The back of the feathers are sort of concave, and they think maybe that helps to draw the sound into their ears because they hunt by their sense of hearing.
Like I said, she's quite comfortable on your hand. So we want to, she's a doll. She's a doll. We want to thank you for doing this. And again, it's always an education. There's things I find out every time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, send me information about your next fundraiser, and we'll get it posted. We'll also get it posted up on Win TV, and hopefully by October, everything will have opened up.
That's our next big fundraiser is probably October. Okay. But like I said, if there's any kids out there who want to raise money for their birthdays for us, we'd be happy to send them an adoption of their favorite bird in exchange if they want, or maybe do a Zoom meet and greet with one of our or two of our birds, a little program for them. Also, if you go to our website, I don't know if you have it, www.horizonwings.org. We have a PayPal link there and other suggestions on ways you can help us.
Okay. And Mary Beth, you might want to say a little bit about, you don't want to be inundated with injured animals. I know you're pretty far out there in Ashford, but if you see a fledgling on the ground, if they don't have any fuzz on them, they try to get them up in the nest. If you see fuzzy ones, leave them alone because they're trying to learn.
They're fully feathered, unless they're obviously injured, leave them be. The parents are probably around. Keep kids, cats, pets away. Put the baby up into a low branch. If they don't have feathers on them, or they just have the pin feathers, their feathers have come out, put them back up into the nest if they seem healthy. If that little baby is really cold or still, call a rehabber to see what to do.
Okay, because this is, I can bet you, and you probably can confirm this, that's probably the most calls you get with, there's a bird on the ground outside my house, and nobody knows.
This time of year, people kidnap fawns, baby bunnies. Parents only back to feed those species a couple times a day. Their best mode of defense is these little animals are basically born with no scent. So mom keeps them hidden, doesn't attract them, just keeps them hidden. They have no scent. It's her way of protecting them is by not bringing attention to them. It's what I was trying to say. So
okay, no, that's a good point, and I do appreciate it. Again, I learn something every time, and I hope that we have you on again sometime in the fall.